This is the amphitheater handball court at the University of Texas at Austin. Two professional handball players are about to begin an exhibition match. This is Fred Lewis. He has won the national title 6 times, a feat that has been bettered by no player in modern handball history. His opponent is Vern Roberts, a man who has been ranked among the top 4 players in the world for the past 5 years. Vern has also won the national doubles title 6 times, along with his partner Nadi Alvarado. Why have Fred and Vern dominated the game for the past 10 years? Certainly both players are fine athletes, but there are many players in America with similar physical abilities. Both Fred and Vern have logged thousands of hours on the court, yet others have also dedicated their talents and time to handball in similar ways, but with much less success. One of the keys to Fred and Vern's success is that they both share a general philosophy about handball strategy. First, they've mastered the fundamental strokes necessary to hit the basic handball shots. Next, they've recognized that there are 5 general situations in which a handball player finds himself during a match. Those situations are the serve, serve return, offense, defense, and anticipation.
This is an exhibition match between Vern Roberts.
In the next hour, we'll investigate each of these topics in detail. We'll examine what it is that Fred and Vern do that we can adapt to our games as well. We'll be examining percentage handball. If you have trouble with sore hands or even hand bruises, maybe you are contacting the ball incorrectly. Try to strike the ball with a slightly cupped hand. The fingers are not rigid or spread, but relaxed. This contact point allows for several advantages. The hand forms a contact point at the base of the first 2 fingers that allows for better control than if you contact the ball at the tips of the fingers. It distributes more power and leverage than if you strike the ball in the palm. Also, the cupped position forms a natural pad or cushion at the impact point. This avoids bruising the hand. Another reason not to strike the ball with a rigid hand is that it flexes the muscles of the wrist, tensing it up. The player loses the advantage of flexible wrist action. The overhand stroke is usually the most comfortable stroke for a beginning player. The ball is contacted around shoulder height, and the player is generally in a more relaxed, upright position. The stroke is used mainly for defensive purposes during the rally, such as the overhand ceiling shot or to hit a lob serve. We will discuss both these shots later. Concerning footwork, note that he remains on his toes, not flat-footed, despite the relaxed nature of the stroke. There is a complete transfer of weight from the back foot to the front foot. When contacting the ball, the elbow is in an upright position with the fingers pointed toward the ceiling. Note here that Vern tends to face the right sidewall when stroking the ball with his right hand. He does not face the front wall. The overhand stroke can occasionally be used in attempting a drive or pass. However, it is the last position to try a kill shot from because of its trajectory. The next 2 strokes demonstrated are technically much better suited for an offensive handball shot. When attempting to strike the ball from chest high to the level of the thighs, the sidearm stroke is used. When we discuss offensive shots, we will highlight this stroke, particularly when demonstrating the pass shot. Again, the player faces the sidewall when hitting the shot. Note how the player, when given the opportunity, moves back to get into position for this shot. Failure to achieve this position may be the most commonly repeated physical error at all levels of play. Now the player is moved behind the ball. He has plenty of time to make the stroke with all his weight and momentum. 2 things occur as Fred contacts the ball. The ball is dropped to the level of Fred's waist, and Fred's forearm is extending out away from his body. This is a superb point of contact. Finally, Fred demonstrates tremendous extension as he raises up on his follow-through. The low sidearm stroke is in some ways an exaggerated version of the sidearm stroke. It is used when striking the ball close to the floor, particularly when hitting kill shots. The main difference is that the back is bent slightly more and the knees are crouched considerably more. Again, if possible, Vern moves away to let the ball drop into the striking zone near the floor. The ball is very low and the legs remain in a crouch on the follow-through. We'll see this stroke later when we discuss the kill shot. The preceding stroke should be learned with both hands, but few players are ambidextrous, and they may find one or even all of these strokes difficult to learn with their weak hands. Here, Vern demonstrates a simple drill designed to strengthen the offhand through throwing repetitions, both overhand and sidearm. He tries to make the two motions identical. Be sure to emphasize footwork when developing your offhand coordination. One particularly valuable stroke to learn, especially with your offhand, is the fist stroke. It's used primarily to hit ceiling shots, three-wall returns, and occasionally to hit drive shots, all from waist high or lower. Most players contact the fist ball at the base of the cuticles. The fist is clenched tightly so that the wrist is firm. Vern Roberts is one of the best in the world at this shot. He strokes the ball almost completely underarm, as in a pendulum motion. The back is kept relatively straight, and the legs do most of the work in lowering the body to contact the ball. Since Vern is demonstrating a ceiling shot here, his follow-through extends upward and his legs lift him up. This is usually the easiest stroke to master with the weak hand, since it doesn't require great strength or power. The stroke's greatest liability is that striking the ball with a clenched fist cuts down on the hitting space in the hand. The preceding points we've covered may seem very simple in theory, yet no matter how skilled or advanced a player may be, his game inevitably suffers when he fails to stroke or contact the ball properly. Always review and refresh these fundamental building blocks of handball. Point of contact. Making sure the ball is in the proper strike zone for the shot. Footwork. You want to be set and striding into the ball on all your shots, including your offhand strokes. And the basic strokes. The overhand stroke. The sidearm stroke. The low sidearm stroke. And the underhand fist stroke. They are indispensable in trying to hit the shots we will discuss next. As the exhibition match continues, both players mix up the speed and direction of their serves. Both players employ three main serves: a low power serve both to the left and the right, a three-wall Z serve, and a lob serve. The first serve we will cover is the power serve. It is probably the most common and in fact overused serve in handball. The object of the power serve is a simple one: drive the ball low off the front wall. The ball rebounds narrowly across the short line, staying close to the side wall as it bounces deep into the corner. It does not come off the back wall. Many players find this serve easier to hit to the right because of the natural spin on the ball. The most commonly used stroke is a combination of the sidearm and low sidearm stroke. The ball is contacted between the knee and the ankle, yet the body is lowered mainly by bending at the waist. Unlike the low sidearm stroke, with the knees in the crouch position, the legs are only slightly bent. The result is a perpendicular swing better suited for guiding the ball down the walls. Most players stand in the center of the box or slightly to the left of center if they are right-handed. Remember, while the power serve may be the most commonly employed serve in handball, it is not necessarily the best one. Its general use is to either hit the ball low and out of reach of the opponent, or to force a weak return from below the waist. Many players, because they see so many power serves, have developed their best return of serve from this position. Furthermore, the power serve also has a tendency to come off the back wall for an easy return. Here, Vern and Fred demonstrate what can happen if the ball strikes too far past the short line. If the first serve is short, a power serve is generally a poor choice for a second serve. Here, Fred double faults when attempting a power serve after an initial short serve. Later in the match, he repeats this pattern. This time, however, his second serve is much safer, yet very effective. It's called the Z serve. In order to hit a Z serve into the left corner of the court, the server usually stands next to the left sidewall. This affords him a properly sharp angle to strike the ball into the right front corner. A properly placed Z serve then clears the short line by a comfortable margin of between 5 to 7 feet. A note here, the Z serve must be hit hard enough so that the receiver doesn't move up and take it with his dominant hand. The receiver must now wait for the ball to rebound off the sidewall before taking it with his offhand in deep court. The lob serve is probably the easiest serve to hit from a physical standpoint. It is designed to force the opponent to take the ball with his non-dominant hand from an overhand position. Usually, the server employs a delicate version of the overhand stroke. He stands next to the sidewall and strikes the ball head high. The ball hits the wall about 10 feet high on the front wall. It clears the short line as closely as possible so that the opponent will not be able to rush up and take the ball in the air. Bouncing near the sidewall, the ball should rebound deep into the rear corner of the court, staying close to the sidewall. A common problem with this serve is hitting it too hard. Note how Vern hits the ball with a virtual flick of the wrist, employing touch and control, not speed and power. There is little wear and tear on the arm with this serve, which is deadly to an opponent with a weak offhand from the overhand position. The hook serve is similar to the power serve. However, it also has a spin applied to it that causes the ball to break to the right or the left. In order to hit a natural hook, a right-hander imparts a clockwise spin on the ball. The elbow comes toward the body on contact with the ball. The ball breaks to the left on impact with the floor. This spin is particularly useful when hitting power serves down the right wall. Many players such as Fred Lewis have a slight natural hook to their serves. The reverse hook breaks in the opposite direction. In order to cause a counterclockwise spin, contact the ball in the same position, but rotate the elbow out away from the body. This serve is generally more difficult to hit than a natural, and both these serves can cause soreness and injury through overuse. An effective serve is the most important shot in a handball player's arsenal. It puts his opponent at an extreme disadvantage, and every opponent varies in his ability to handle one or all of these serves. In order to neutralize a strong serve, an equally important aspect of handball must be discussed. During the first game, Fred Lewis hits a well-placed serve to Vern Roberts. Striking the ball from deep court, should Vern A. roll it out, B. hit a pass shot, or C. try for a defensive return? Vern unwisely elects to try an offensive shot and loses the point. Later, in a similar situation, Vern is faced with the same choice. This time he hits a defensive return and is into the thick of the rally. In this section, we will discuss the serve return as a defensive response to the serves covered in the preceding section. Remember, your opponent holds front court position and you're 40 feet from the front wall. Unless he's terribly mishit his serve, don't even think about an offensive return. When your opponent hits a good power serve, try to move him out of front court and into a defensive posture. Here Vern hits a ceiling shot using the underarm fist stroke. Vern moves to the ball as quickly as possible, lifting with his leg as he contacts the ball. But if the serve moves too close to his body, Vern hits a three-wall defensive return. The three-wall return can also be used when the serve comes around the corner off the back wall. This serve can be returned by a right-hander's strong hand by moving into the corner and taking the ball with his strong hand. Notice how deep Vern moves into the corner to take this shot. Like all serve returns, this shot requires great concentration. Vern watches the ball intently. He is thinking defense. During the exhibition match, we can see that both Vern and Fred are highly skilled at returning the low power serve. Now let's see how they handle returns from a different position. A well-hit Z-serve poses extreme difficulty for the receiver. Usually, the best return available is a three-wall shot like the one previously described, but hit into the left side wall with an open hand. Be sure to stride toward the wall with your momentum. Otherwise, this shot will require great arm strength in your offhand stroke. When hit correctly, this return forces your opponent to retreat on defense and neutralizes his original advantage. Be sure to hit the ball with an open hand and not a fist. The key to this shot, as with all three-wall returns, is the proper spin. Most players lack the skill needed to return a lob serve once it bounces into deep court. Whenever possible, the receiver should move up to one of two positions behind the short line. First, if the ball narrowly crosses the short line by inches, try to stroke it on the up bounce. Attempting to take the ball on the fly is too risky. Hitting the ball before it crosses the short line would result in an automatic point for the server. A ceiling return from this position requires less skill and strength than from the deep corner. However, if the ball clears the short line by a comfortable margin, the player might attempt a stiff arm fist drive from waist level or lower. A hard drive down the right is usually a good choice from this position. A good serve return neutralizes your opponent's advantage. It puts him back on defense. It lets you into the rally with an even chance to win. With luck, you may get a setup and a chance to try one of the shots we will discuss next. There are really three ways to score a point in handball. Your opponent can make an error. You can hit the ball by him with a pass shot. You can hit the ball in front of him where he can't reach it with a kill shot. Fred and Vern put on an awesome display of kills in the match. They're experts of the offensive shots. The kill shot may be the most crowd-pleasing shot in handball. It also requires the smallest margin of error. Preferably, good kill shot form utilizes the low sidearm stroke, bending at the waist and knees to contact the ball low and drive it into the front wall. Kills are best attempted when the player has time to get set. At the point of contact, the forearm is relatively parallel to the floor. This swing is horizontal so that the shot has a low, level trajectory. Remaining in a crouch on the follow-through keeps the trajectory of the shot from rising. A kill shot should be effective even if it is off target. For instance, the straight kill is angled down a sidewall away from your opponent. Usually, this kill should be attempted with your opponent in front court. If the kill shot is too high, it converts into an effective pass or kill pass. Kills that strike the sidewall first, next to your opponent, angle away from him. Again, even if the kill is high, it is effective. This kill works to the left as well. Try these kills when your opponent is in deep court. The sidewall causes the ball to stay in front court. Remember, try to use the low sidearm stroke when hitting kills. Get set, strike the ball at a low position, remain crouched throughout the follow-through, and try to hit kills that are effective even when they're not perfect. During the match, Fred takes Vern on a tour of the court. Point Lewis, timeout Roberts. He is a victim of the pass shot. The pass shot is used to drive the ball out of the opponent's reach. Both sidearm strokes are used for this shot. The pass shot must be hit hard. For that reason, it's imperative to be planted before moving into the ball. The arm swing moves more along a vertical plane than a horizontal one. The high follow-through causes the ball's trajectory to rise. The straight pass travels along a sidewall away from the opponent. The ball should land as deeply as possible, preferably past the short line, without allowing for a back wall return. If it strikes the floor too early, the shot slows down enough for the opponent to reach it. The two-wall pass strikes the front wall and then a side wall. Here you can see why it's often called a V pass. After striking the front wall, the ball reaches the side wall a few feet past the short line and about 2 feet from the floor. This shot is more likely to score a point if your opponent is next to the side wall that it hits. The ball angles away from the opponent. The two-wall pass is a punishing shot. It's perhaps the most often used shot of the Pro Tour, but occasionally it can be the wrong choice. Here, the two-wall pass rebounds directly to the opponent because he is not near the sidewall it strikes. In such a situation, a straight pass to the left works better. The pass shot must be hit hard to be effective. Move into the shot with all your weight and extend on the follow-through. The two-wall and straight passes should be hit constantly. Even if you don't score, you wear down your opponent and generate weak returns. The back wall shot should be considered an offensive shot, particularly with the strong hand. The player has time to get set, and he has the opportunity to take the ball from a sidearm or low sidearm position. The key to a good back wall shot is to move back with the ball rather than waiting for it. From this position, move toward the front wall with all your weight and momentum. Fred Lewis demonstrates a simple back wall drill. Fred lets the ball pass him before moving with it. Don't let the ball get behind you on a back wall shot. A common back wall return is one which comes around the corner. Many players make the mistake of taking the ball with their offhand in this situation. Vern shows the correct way. He moves deep into the corner, rotating with the ball. From this position, Vern could also hit a three-wall return, but that's a topic for our next section. Throughout the match, both players are forced into backcourt to return shots. When they can get set, they can use overhand ceiling shots to keep their opponent in deep court. This is controlled defense. Occasionally, one pro or the other is forced to scramble in order to make a return. Both are remarkable at retrieving difficult balls and making a ceiling shot that gets them back in the rally. This is defense in trouble. The overhand ceiling shot is the main weapon used in control defense. Depending on the speed and trajectory of the shot, the ball can strike the ceiling anywhere from 1 to 10 feet from the front wall and still be effective. It drops too steeply for the opponent to cut off. He must retreat to deep court. To hit a ceiling shot, use the overhand stroke. Bend the back leg on the shot. This causes the torso to lean back and face the ceiling with the leading shoulder raised. If the player's set, he can try to direct this shot toward the corners. With practice, some players have been known to use this shot as an offensive weapon, since the return is from the deep corner of the opponent's offhand. When a player is in trouble, he is usually reaching the ball off balance as it drops below his waist. From this unset position, the underhand fist stroke is used. If the ball is out away from your body, a ceiling shot is usually easier to hit. But if the ball bounces into your body, a three-wall return may be a better response. Remember to use your legs on the fist shot. The lifting motion along with the follow-through are vital in getting this shot up to the ceiling or around the walls. Despite the superb returns demonstrated here by Vern, only one great player, Paul Haber, was able to hit these shots while in trouble and place them in the corners. The rest of us should settle for a return in the middle of deep court, since a ceiling shot that grazes a sidewall can neutralize its effectiveness. Even the best players have difficulty with a well-placed shot that comes off the back wall to their offhand. The defensive stroke used is a sweeping motion described by Vern Roberts as the primitive left. For left-handers, this obviously applies to a left-hander's right hand. The shot Vern hits is a two-wall drive to the right, similar to the two-wall pass previously discussed. This return usually serves the defensive purpose of forcing the opponent back. You should not expect to score with this shot. The stroke is a sweeping underarm motion designed to scoop the ball out of the corner. It is a simple, yet extremely effective return. Our first four sections have discussed what shots to hit in certain situations involving the serve and serve return and offensive and defensive selections. Our final handball situation points out what you need to do and where you should go if your opponent is hitting the shot. One of the most critical and most subtle aspects of handball involves knowing what position to take when your opponent is hitting the ball. Ideally, a player would like to hold center court position around the short line, usually favoring his offhand on one side. The player that controls this position usually controls the rallies. However, this is an unrealistic proposition. Often the opponent is clearly in a position to hit a controlled defensive shot. As Vern and Fred demonstrate here, it's pointless to rush up and hold court position. Both players rally in deep court, waiting for an offensive opportunity. Finally, Fred must make a back wall return. Vern begins to edge toward the right, anticipating that Fred may be hitting a two-wall drive with the primitive left stroke. If Fred is off target, Vern will go on offense. He guesses correctly and wins the point. This is shot anticipation. Knowing how to move for shots is important. Let's observe Vern's footwork during a rally. He's one of the finest retrievers in the game today, and we can see why here. He remains in constant motion, up on his toes, yet he doesn't commit himself at full speed until he's sure where the ball is hit. It's easier to change directions from these short initial movements than from a complete stop. You should never be caught flat-footed when your opponent is striking the ball. Certain rules apply when anticipating shots. For instance, if your opponent is right next to a sidewall, it is often difficult for him to hit his return directly down that wall. Here, Fred anticipates Vern's cross-court return to the left. He doesn't even move for the shot. When you anticipate correctly, you don't have to run as much as your opponent. Knowing your opponent's tendencies is also important. One of Fred's favorite kill shots is a left corner kill that bounces back to the right side. Vern knows this and begins to move toward the right side before Fred hits his shot. Vern can also judge by Fred's stance, which is lined up to the left corner. Watch your opponent's feet to tell where he's hitting the ball. Fred hits an excellent kill, but Vern is there to retrieve it and stay in the rally. Another important area of shot anticipation involves knowing whether a shot will have reverse or natural spin. Of course, this is particularly important when returning hook serves. When Pete Tyson demonstrates a reverse hook, his elbow rotates away from his body. Seeing this tells you that the ball may take a bounce to your right. For a natural spin, the elbow breaks into the body. Can you tell what kind of spin Pete is putting on these two serves? Pete Tyson has a quote he often uses to describe the game of handball. A man who uses his hand only is a laborer. A man who uses his head only is an apprentice. But a man who uses his hand, head, and heart is an artist. Without anticipation, a handball player limits himself to the physical enjoyments of the game. With it, he engages in a more worthy contest with his opponent, a battle not just of bodies, but of minds as well. Improving your game in the areas we've covered will make you a better handball player, but there's one more section we'd like to add. For the final 15 minutes of this tape, you'll see Fred Lewis and Vern Roberts hit the basic shots in numerous repetitions from different angles. Try to visualize yourself hitting these shots. Watch this section before you go to bed at night. Watch them before a practice session or before a match. It's a proven fact that these models can form mental blueprints, and from those blueprints, an improved handball player will emerge. That's the purpose of this tape, and that's the purpose behind Percentage Handball.